Good morning, everyone. Today, our group is going to present the topic different approaches to explain family violence. This is our content. Here are some data about family violence in Hong Kong. We can see that there was a total of 1,235 domestic violence cases in Hong Kong last year, an increase of nearly 10% compared to 2022. This shows that family violence has always existed in Hong Kong society and is a social problem that needs to be taken seriously. When we talk about family violence, we think the cause as individuals factors or social violence. Most people may think that violence is personal characters or an internal family problems, but in fact, it is also related to overall social and so our major argument is family violence is not an individual's acts but are social issues.
Okay, let's begin with the social structure, and I'm going to talk about the two issues which are gender inequality and insufficient in law enforcement and leading to family violence. Next. For gender inequality, it is not an unfamiliar topic in talking about family violence. First, the traditional thought is deep-rooted in Chinese culture that men is usually the one who are the most powerful in home. For example, women is usually the one who are responsible for maintaining the family, that they did not have the real power of the family. Yet, man is the one who has the real power as they hold the most key role, which is earning money for family members, that woman is not able to leave them as they are not economic independence. Moreover, woman is always in a vulnerable position in a family as they are not able to against with men that they got physical differences when men use violence to women physically. Next, please. Second is the insufficient of law enforcement. As the article from Hong Kong Federation of Women's Centers have mentioned, the guidelines of family violence is vague and the judgment on family violence by police is invalid that many cases are ignored. Next, please. To add on, domestic conflict cases are classified into three types, which are criminal, miscellaneous, and domestic incident. In fact, most cases will be classified as domestic incident by police that makes the number of domestic violence cases decline and the serious cases are being ignored and it cannot grasp attention from the public. Furthermore, women cannot seek help from the law enforcement officer as they did not give clear explanation and assistance to police that they can do nothing, which leads to the abuse cannot get immediate help which might result to a more serious family violence. Next. Last but not least, the protection mechanism in Hong Kong is used to produce the abuse, yet it is not effective enough yet. From the above data, only 0.2% people among 40 cases can be protected by the government, and it makes the public look down on the impact of family violence. And I'm going to pass on to my group mate.
Okay, let me talk about the social context. Next page. In the Chinese society, the family violence is often regarded as a private family matter. Many people believe the traditional value, 家丑不可以外扬, which means the family shame should not open to the public. And this hide the problem out of the fear of losing face and social standing. And this can hinder and deeply affect the reporting and the intervention. Next page. And then let's see the data analysis in China. The family violence is impact a lot, not only family, but also the society whole. According to the national survey, 1/3 of the country in household have facing the domestic violence. In Gansu, Hunan, and Zhejiang province, they are not very rich province, but they have a huge amount of victims. And we can see in the rural area, the young family in the household are faced with a lower education, have the physical abuse, and also they have facing the emotional violence. And the emotional violence is something when someone repeatedly try to make you feel bad and insult or threat and restricting your freedom, or even embarrassing you in the public. And this can cause by the childhood exposure, substance abuse, or the lack of social support. Next page. And we can see the new study in Taiwan. And the man repeatedly hitting his girlfriend. And his girlfriend repeatedly report that he has been subject to her boyfriend's domestic violence. And the girl seeking the family and the friends for help, but is not successful. And this news shows the lack of support in the modern society. Next page. And the impact of the domestic violence. According to the survey, 1 in 4 children are exposed to the domestic violence. And some studies show that living with domestic violence can cause the physical and emotional harm to the children, and including the self-harm or ongoing anxiety or depression, and this cause the long-term impact as they continue to their children, and they expose or become the victims of the same behavior and pass the domestic violence for the next generation. And let's pass to my group mate and talk about the social change.
For the social change part, next. I'll talk about what are the solutions that can change the situation mentioned so that can directly or indirectly reduce the occurrence of family violence. There are 2 parts: education promotion and improve the legal system. Next. We can see that some NGOs in Hong Kong currently organizes community education programs. For example, Happy House hosts public education talks and sharing workshops to educate the public about family violence and various support measures to increase public awareness and understanding of family violence. More, the Women's Commission hosts talks in various schools to promote the value of gender equality and provides relevant training to government officials to increase their understanding of gender mainstreaming. To reduce family violence by focusing on gender equality. Next. Promotional videos, talk, training, or sharing workshops that can promote the correct concepts of gender equality and let men consciously regard women as equal. Domestic violence is often underreported or hidden due to lack of awareness, lack of safety, shame, and fear. So, through public education, we can reduce these barriers and help those in need. We can give their power and encourage women to speak out and ask for help. Next. We can also improve their legal system, like refer to judicial procedures, legal regulations, and definitions in other regions or countries, or refine the case review and reporting procedures. Also integrate other aspects such as medical care to establish crisis support centers and injuries assessment service. Next page. Example, civil protection orders in Taiwan. Besides physical violence, the eligibility criteria for protection orders also include mental abuse or economic exploitation. However, protection order applications often overlook their physiological or economic oppressions inflicted on victims, significantly reducing their level of protection and making applications difficult. I could also refer to New York to establish domestic violence courts. In New York, these courts can speed up case trials because they only handle this type of case. They can reduce the waiting time for victims and enable them to get help faster. Also, through mandatory treatment and physiological counseling for perpetrators and strengthening their enforcement of protection orders. Therefore, Hong Kong can refer to their detailed enforcement procedures to improve the local legal system.
Lastly, I would like to talk about some of the critical reflections of our group. First, structure and content, there are connections between each other. A legal structure that is weak, that don't protect victims, or police who treat family violence as a private problem and not a real crime. And this can create the foundation for the problem. And the social structure create the rules and saying that it wasn't anyone else's business. So because the rule book said that we develop a social content of silence. As my good mate just mentioned that there is a community norms that we should keep silence when family violence happens. Like if you were being hurt at home, you were told to be quiet and you were made to feel shame. And your family might tell you to keep the peace. And this structure creates this content of silence. And also, the content of silence then feedback and make the structure even stronger. When everyone is silent, it seems that no one cares about family violence. And when no one reports the violence, the police and government may think that it is not a big problem. So they don't feel the need to change the old and weak laws. And the silence are literally vote for the bad rules to stay in place. And this has become a vicious cycles of the structures and content and causing family violence. But social change is the disruptor. As my roommate just mentioned that the main change should be making new law and education. And this is changing the structure and it is top-down fix and changing content is a bottom-up fix. And when both of them are worse, this can change and break the cycle between structure and content and helping to reduce the family violence. And throughout the whole presentation, we've argued that family violence is not a private issue, but a social one, subsumed by a social license. And while the structural framework is powerful, a critical reflection forces us to ask, is this lens sufficient? And we think that we should also, by focusing so heavily on social structure, actually we are erasing the individual agency and nuances. We must be careful not to frame abuser as a mirror product of their environments, and human behavior actually is a complex interplay of structure, content, and individual psychology. A complex explanation requires integrating, not replacing, psychological insight about trauma and aggressions. So in conclude, family violence is not merely an individual's act, but a social issue rooted in structural weakness and subsumed by community norms. However, it could be changed by improving the laws and education. So it is important for the government and also the community to take actions and to solve this problem. Here is our reference page. And this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.